Hi, Paul. It's fantastic to see you. Thanks for chatting to us today. How are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, thank you.
You're on tour at the moment, Behind the Lens tour. It's a huge tour, isn't it?
It is, yeah, it's massive. Yeah, it's I think it's 100 shows this year with the possibility of more.
And how's it been going? Because we're week three, are we? Is it week three
Yeah,
now?
yeah, it's week three at the moment, so it's going well. Um, we're sort of refining it as we go along as well, and also sometimes some of the slides that come up that we're going to talk about, I've spoken about them, about 15, 20 times now. So now I'm getting bored. So we're going to try and change some of the photos, mix it up a little bit because it keeps it fresh for us, And there are some people that have actually booked to see us on three separate nights, different parts of the year. So hopefully there'll always be something that's slightly different to the one they saw before.
Because it's interesting, isn't it? It's not a usual gig. You're doing talking, you're answering questions about your huge 40-year career. You're
Yeah.
meeting fans as well.
Yep. There's meet and greets, and we show some sort of landmark parts of my career. Obviously, Live Aid. There's a clip of that. There's a clip of the Queen show, and we can talk a little bit about what happened and how I got to be on there, and some of the things that happened backstage or things that were leading up to it, even um, things like that. Then I can talk a little bit about recording albums and how I worked with the same musicians for three albums. Then I decided to mix it up a bit and do some stuff in America, and that was good fun too.
You did stuff that we won't know in the general press that about you. It's all new info. A lot of it's new information.
Yeah, I try and get as much new information in there as possible. Like there's a few behind the scenes things that had happened, say like I, I fell off stage in Sydney and I didn't realize how much damage I'd done to my ribs.
Oh my god!
But I had to board a flight to Los Angeles, which goes through a time zone, but it's about 15 hours of flying. And when I got off at the other end, I was in so much pain. We had to go
Oh no!
straight to a hospital to find out what was wrong.
Oh
So there's all
no!
things like that, that people that I'm in front of a camera all the time, but there's loads of things that happen when the focus isn't on me. There was another one where I took a break halfway through an American tour, and we had a holiday, and we went out and we hired these quad bikes out on an island near Jamaica and Barbados. And so we went out on the quad bikes, and I went over a sand dune, and it threw me over the handlebars, and then drove over me. My own quad bike
Oh
drove
my
over my
god!
back.
That could have killed you. Oh,
I
so there's
know,
loads of
yeah,
little stories like this. Well, you're coming to
yeah.
Nottingham on the 14th of May. We can't wait to see you at the Playhouse. Can you give a little exclusive to Notts TV, a little story or something that you've not told anyone yet?
Oh, that's hard because I've been through loads of them. Like the quad bike one, I haven't told that yet. On the show, um, there was one. There's another one where I had to meet a member of the mafia, but that's way too long-winded to do on here. So I'm just going to tease it instead.
Fantastic. So, do the fans in the audience get to? Because we went to one with Jason Donovan, and you could write down some questions beforehand and put them in at the front, and they
Oh
would
yeah,
give you. So, there's a bit of that
yeah.
as well, is there?
It's a similar show. In fact, it's done by the same production company. So
Ah,
yeah, we do the question and answers, but we decided to go bareback, as we call it, and not vet the questions. So we don't
ah.
even get a look at them until the last part of the show when we pick the box up and we open it on stage,
So it's
and
completely spontaneous, your responses. And
completely spontaneous. Yeah, and I'm the guy who's my Michael Parkinson is Jamie, who's been my guitar player for over 30 years.
I was going to
So
ask, I was
he's
going to ask who the person was doing the interview. Yeah, doing the questions.
yeah.
Okay, so
So
he
he
knows you like incredibly well then.
Yeah, and we've been on stage together a long time, so we feed off each other very well. So I hand over a bunch of questions to him, and I've got some in front of me, and we just kind of quick fire through them. Sometimes we'll linger on a subject if it's a good one, and we'll talk a little bit about that.
That sounds like completely amazing just to see something complete. Because I remember with the Jason one as well, there was an opportunity for him to sing his greatest hits as well. So you'll be singing obviously as well, won't you? It's not just talking.
Yeah, Yeah, I don't know how he did it. Maybe he had a piano player, but because I've
Yeah,
got Jamie doing the interviews, we're just doing it with two guitars,
brilliant.
and so we stripped the songs back, and we tried to choose ones that work well when they're just played on two guitars. You know.
Fantastic. Well, Nottingham's not the only date in East Midlands. We've got Leicester as well. I think Leicester's later this month, and then Nottingham's next month. Any memories of the East Midlands? Any fantastic things that you've done in Nottingham that you can remember?
Ooh, no, I know
You got this bit out if you can't remember anything.
you're pushing me on there. I've played a lot of towns, and sometimes I can't remember what happened where, and especially over a 40-year career, I do know that I played in Nottingham a lot. Is it the Playhouse?
The Playhouse, yeah.
Yeah,
You'll remember when you
yeah,
get there. You remember it's such a fantastic city and such a fantastic audience. We'll all absolutely love you. So we're looking forward to
yeah.
that.
I'm sure they're going to love it. When we get out in the provinces, uh, they do tend to be very receptive to this kind of evening. You know, it's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. There's a lot of involvement with the audience. You know, so yeah, it's good. It's never the same twice.
And yeah, it's something different. We saw you last year when you played in Leicester with, you toured with Go West. We were on the front row, really enjoyed that. Is
Yeah.
there anybody that you'd like to tour with that you've not had the opportunity to tour with yet?
Um, touring, I don't know. It's one of those things where you don't really know how well it's going to go until you do it. So I've toured a lot with Go West because um, I get on very well with Pete and Richard, and I know their band very well.
Yeah,
The drummer and bass player work with me on occasion, so it's such an easy show to be able to do because the musicians know my music as well as Go West, and that's a good one. And then the other one I did was I toured America with Midge Ure, um,
ah,
and that
oh,
was
we love Midge.
that was a
Midge
lot
is
of
in
fun.
Nottingham next month as well. Yeah, he's playing Rock City, I
Oh,
think.
is he? Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you know, he's a nice guy. We've known each other a long time, but obviously because of Band Aid. But even
yeah.
before that, we'd run into each other when I was playing with Q-tips and things. And he'd be out on the road, and I saw him play with oh, what are they called? The Rich Kids. That was a great band.
Tell me about Live Aid a little bit then, because was that the absolute highlight of your career?
Oh, it's hard to pick a highlight. I mean, that was definitely the biggest audience I've ever played to, and probably most of the people on that day, it was the biggest audience they will
Yeah,
ever play to because it was not just in a stadium, but it was worldwide on TV,
yeah.
you know, and it was billions of people that watched it. Um, but I did enjoy the Queen one much more
Okay.
because we had a chance to rehearse it and go out and be step into somebody else's shoes,
Yeah.
you know, and that's quite an exciting thing to do. When I was doing Live Aid, it was well rehearsed, apart from a couple of little off the cuff things we did. It was songs that we'd played quite a few times, but to go out on a stage that massive
Yeah.
and play a song that you know you're only going to do once,
Yeah.
so it has to be right. But it was a thrill to do.
When you think about going back on stage in the 80s and what life was like then for you being such a huge star, a bit different going on stage now, is it? Do you still get the same adrenaline rush or do you feel, completely calm? Is it very different?
I think I always get a similar adrenaline rush. Um, I think the most nail biting ones are always the first couple of shows where you've rehearsed it, but then you're moving it onto a
Yeah,
stage, and there's always things that can go wrong. So yeah, they're a bit tentative. After that, I don't really worry too much about them.
right. And did
I
you
just get
did you
on
in
with
the
doing
80s? Were you nervous in the 80s when you were going out on stage?
them. Once again, no. If I'm with the band that I trust, and I know they've got my back, then no, I was able to, because the worst thing you can possibly have is think or worry about what's going on behind you. You don't want that. You want
Yeah.
to be able to give 100% to the people that are in front of you. So once you get past that stage where everything's settled, everything's in, then I start to really enjoy the shows.
Did you love it back then when it was completely crazy and everywhere you went, people would be stopping you absolutely everywhere?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. And it did get to the point where around about 87, 88, I'd gone from the first tour was just a tour, and then about halfway through the tour, my manager said, "I think we need a bodyguard." Sounds a bit extreme, but a security guy, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate saying that, bodyguard. Anyway, so but then it got to the point, you know, around 87, 88, where I've got two, and it was like planning those escape routes and the things that you see on TV, like in crime series, but where one would go ahead and sort out the exit route, and then the other would be with me all the time. And at that point, then I couldn't leave my hotel, and then it got to the point where I couldn't leave my room.
Wow.
And when it got to that, I thought, this isn't fun anymore, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I stepped out of the limelight for a while then.
Well, you play a lot of the festivals as well, don't you? And do some of the 80s tours like that.
Yeah, I do, and yeah, sometimes that involves using a different band. I just a short while ago went to Denmark with Boney M and a couple of other artists and me, and that was good fun because once again, you know, I've played with a lot of musicians, and I did know at least half the band. In fact, it was Go West's bass player and drummer again. You know.
Is there anything now, looking back, that you think, I wish I'd known that then that I know now?
I wish that I could have been more entertained with songwriting. It was something that I found a bit of a chore. I think it's mainly because I didn't write with writers. I wrote with other musicians who were possibly as green as I was about writing a catchy song. So I only started to enjoy it later once I started getting with proper writers. And I just wish I'd realised that earlier and applied myself a bit more to the writing of songs. I mean, I have had the occasional hit with songs I've written, but I could have got more, you know.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now, Paul, before I do some quick fire questions to end with, you're 67. You look incredible. Tell me how you stay, like, to embark on like a 100-day tour. Like, I have problems getting up in the morning sometimes. How do you keep going? How do you stay fit? How do you look so amazing? I know that you're a brilliant cook. Does that come into it, what you eat? And
well, that's very difficult on the road, actually, to try and eat healthy meals. But I do try to. I try and keep the carbs down, and I do some exercise, but not a great deal. I do everything, but not to an extreme.
you go to the gym every day and things like that, or
no.
Oh.
No. I tend to do more. I do some gym work. I don't do as much running as I used to do, only because I damaged a cartilage in my knee from too many knee slides on stage. So running gets difficult, you know.
Is that a real fact? Did you really damage your cartilage by doing that?
Yeah, I did. And I was operated on at that time, so it shows you when I did it, by Paul Gascoigne's knee surgeon. And they had to cut a piece of the cartilage away. So it's weak, you know.
Oh, you've got so many amazing stories. It's great to speak to you. Okay, I want to ask you 10 quick fire questions. Well, first of all, before I ask you the 10 quick fire questions, tell me the question that most fans always ask you. What's the most popular question you get asked?
What was it like at Live Aid?
Okay. And your answer is always?
It was crazy, but it was great.
Okay, well, I've got 10 questions. Some are really just straightforward, but just things I'd just love to know about you. Okay?
Okay. Yep.
Are you ready?
Yep.
Favorite food?
Italian, I guess.
Good choice. Favorite 80s song?
There's so many, but then I go back to obscure ones. So it was by Scritti Politti, and I think it was called The Word Girl or something like that. And it's a great song. I'd forgotten about it until it randomly came up. So at the moment, that's my favorite.
Okay, don't know that one. Favorite color?
Turquoise.
Favorite animal?
Favorite animal? Wombat.
Cute answer.
Not that I own one.
Favorite day of the week?
It's normally Fridays, but with this tour I'm doing at the moment, my weekend has become Mondays and Tuesdays, so I think I'm going to switch it to a Monday.
Monday, yeah, because we're singing on a Sunday, and I know Leicester's on a Sunday as well.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite city to perform in?
Oh, it was always London. I don't know what it was. Sorry, Nottingham.
Great answer. Favorite chocolate bar?
I like there's a chocolate bar. There's a company called Divine that do one with it's dark chocolate with pink Himalayan sea salt in it.
Oh wow, not heard of that.
It's fantastic.
Okay. Favorite clothes?
Favorite clothes. I don't have any one designer in mind. I do a mixture of buying high quality goods, but I still go to the occasional secondhand shop and find some bargains. Like there's one jacket I'm wearing that's worth about £700. There's another one that I got in the charity shop for about 30 quid, but it looks great.
Fantastic. Favorite sport to watch on TV?
Oh, tennis. I love tennis.
Oh, do you? Oh, you
Yeah.
play, don't you, actually? I've seen pictures of you playing tennis.
I think you might see a picture of me looking like I know what I'm doing on a cricket field, but I'm useless at most sports.
And finally, best 80s website, 80s interviewer, 80s kind of thing?
Loving80s is a pretty good one.
Paul Young, we love you. We can't wait to see you in Nottingham. Really looking forward to it.
Thank you.